In this video, we will be discussing the recent sale of the OANDA broker to FTMO. Stick around to the end to see how this development will impact the prop trading industry. This video is sponsored by Prosperity Algo and our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Do you want to make 100+% annual returns through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout? Then click the link in the description. So the big news in the Forex trading world the past week was that FTMO, the world's largest prop firm, has acquired OANDA, which is one of the world's largest and most established brokerages. And this is a massive, massive development in the prop firm industry and will likely change the entire industry for years to come. I just wanted to take you guys through a few different news releases here, both news articles and press releases, in order to kind of show you the gravitas and the magnitude behind this. So here quickly, we can just kind of scroll through the press release and see that FTMO recently acquired OANDA in an absolutely enormous transaction from CVC, which is one of the world's largest private equity funds. And CVC owned OANDA through one of its Asian funds, and I suppose they were looking for an exit, and they ended up selling them to FTMO, who bought it as a strategic buyer. And a few interesting points which I saw from the particular release is that FTMO was represented by JP Morgan, and they really handled this in an exceptionally professional way. And to me, what this shows is that we're slowly but surely moving from the very almost sketchy prop industry, which was largely a bunch of kids using white labeling software, and moving towards a true professional industry. And here we can see that FTMO, they went and acquired one of the most established companies in the space, and they did so really to, at least I believe, and what a lot of people are saying, is to solidify their position as the industry leader. So if we walk through a few other articles here, we can see that FTMO supposedly ended 2023 with 82 million in cash. And this article just spoke to a few of their different profitability metrics. So even in 2023, they had made roughly $81 million of profit, right? So that's absolutely massive. Or sorry, is that profit? Yes, that's profit. That's cash at the end of 2023. And here we can see that their pre-tax profit of $98 million was 2023, and likely it's gone up even more since then. So this goes to show that FTMO has an incredibly solid balance sheet, and likely they were able to deploy some of that cash into the acquisition of OANDA. Moreover, there's a few other interesting developments which have been taking place, such as a lot of true brokerage and FX industry veterans have been joining FTMO. So effectively, as they look to become a more institutional, very reputable, well-regulated company, they're bringing on more and more people who have decades of experience in this space. So kind of back to the example, it seemed like last year, every 2 months, an influencer was launching a prop firm, and then they rapidly couldn't meet their liabilities because they didn't understand how to essentially run any sort of legitimate business. FTMO is doing the complete opposite. Not only do they have an enormous war chest, but they actually are bringing on people who are finance professionals, people who likely are well educated, have tons of experience, and who know how to run this type of very complex business. And this article spoke a little bit more to that too. But essentially, the takeaways from this one here is that they just have an incredibly robust balance sheet and a bunch of cash, which is quite an interesting just takeaway for us as traders, because you need to make sure that you're able to get paid out. And if a firm seemingly is actually generating significant profits, is able to attract top tier talent and top tier executives, those are probably good signs in terms of their solidity in the market and the fact that they likely will be here for a significant period of time. A few other interesting things I wanted to point out is the OANDA acquisition suddenly gives FTMO access to regulated brokerage subsidiaries all over the world. So if we go through OANDA's website here, we can see that they were one of the largest regulated brokers in the United States. So not only do they hold licenses on islands, they're both a US, Canadian, European, and Asian regulated brokerage. And these are some of the most hardcore regulatory permits to have, right? Being regulated by the CFTC in the United States, by CIRO, or it used to be called IROC, but now it's called CIRO here in Canada. it costs you millions of dollars to be able to have some of these regulatory certifications, and even just like your annual like upkeep costs are crazy. And the fact that FTMO now has an entity which has regulatory approval in all of these jurisdictions goes to show that they're really trying to become more of a recognized, legitimate player, because they're not trying to just skirt away from some of the regulations. They're almost embracing it head on, and they're getting themselves a head start by acquiring an entity which already has the permits to operate in many jurisdictions. So perhaps because ultimately prop trading is very similar to a brokerage with leverage, they're able to use some of the compliance expertise and the relationships from all of these different entities for their prop trading business. So ultimately, what I saw here, and just the reason why I wanted to make this video, is this is potentially a game changer for the space. Essentially, we're seeing that the prop trading industry is almost growing up. It's now getting to the point where they have executives, they have cash, they have reserves, they're licensed in a variety of jurisdictions, they have compliance officers, they're hiring JP Morgan as their investment banker. So it shows that like this is becoming a real industry. And for us, like, although there's downsides to that, it might be a bit more challenging, but it does speak to the fact that there's likely going to be a lot more staying power. And it seemed like a year ago or a year and a half ago that we had no idea if the prop industry was going to be around in 6 months. And now this development shows that FTMO at least is trying to kind of get ahead of any sort of regulation, or they're trying to be very proactive and take steps here and almost become a bit too big to fail before anything can necessarily go against them. So my big takeaways is that if you're looking for a firm that can pay you out, this clearly shows that they have a very robust balance sheet, and of the prop firms, they're likely able to process larger payments than others. In terms of the second point, the regulatory aspect, and are prop firms going to get shut down for whatever reason? The fact that they all of a sudden have acquired an entity that gives them licenses in just about every major jurisdiction shows that they are also aware of this and they're trying to get ahead of the challenge. So it potentially speaks to them confronting the issue of potential regulation head on. And finally, in terms of just like further solvency, the fact that they've been bringing on all these executives, the fact that they're able to do business with some of the world's largest private equity firms shows that their level of professionalism is far greater than what we've ever seen in this industry. So all of which are good developments and show that prop trading might be here for quite a bit longer. So guys, hope you found this interesting, as I found it interesting as somebody who really enjoys the FX and CFD business. But ultimately, this shows that prop trading might be here to last. We never know, but this was definitely a huge step forward in terms of the solidity and the likelihood of the industry being around for a long time. Leave me a comment if you have any thoughts, and take care.